Hi everyone, and welcome to today's virtual session on student life at NESCol. Thank you so much for joining us today. And hopefully by the end of this session, you will know a little bit more about what it's like to study at North East Scotland College. My name's Lauren. I'm one of the marketing officers here at NESCol, and today I'm joined by a panel of my colleagues from across the college who will be answering your questions. And we've got some pre-submitted questions to run through first, but if you do have a question that you would like us to answer, please type that into the question box on your screen and we will answer that once we've run through those. Before we begin, I'm going to ask the panel to introduce themselves to you. We'll start with Michelle.
Hi, my name is Michelle Burnett. I'm the Head of Sector for Hospitality and Leisure, and that covers the hospitality area, so the professional cookery, the travel and tourism, and the hair and beauty and sport areas, both at City and Fraserburgh campus. I'll pass you on to Kasia.
Hi, I'm Kasia. I'm Student Support Coordinator here at college. We are part of the bigger kind of team of student advice and support. I overlook the team who provides the support for any student. And I'll pass you to my colleague Stephen.
Hello, my name is Stephen and I'm a student support tutor here at the college and I'm based at Fraserburgh campus. As Kasia says, my team forms part of the student advice and support team. And I will pass you on to Sasha.
Good afternoon. So my name is Sasha Bryden. I'm the regional president of the Students' Association here at NESCol, and I've been a student at the college since 2018, and I'll actually be returning next academic year. So if there's any prospective social science students in the call, you win. I don't quite know what you win, but you win anyway.
Thanks everyone. So we're just going to get right into the questions, and the first one is, what is the difference between college and school? Michelle, I'm going to come to you first on this, but Sasha, I would like you to jump in afterwards and give your perspective on that.
Okay, so the main difference between college and school is that you come to college only around about 3 days per week. So if you're on a full-time course and you are on a practical course, you'll probably be in college over those 3 days. If your course is made up a bit about theory and a practical sessions, then you might be a little bit less in college using a sort of hybrid model, but your timetable will be over 3 days. The start and finish times are different from school, so you might start a bit later in the morning and you might finish a bit earlier. So they're not necessarily 9 to 5 or 9 to 3:30, 4 o'clock like it is at school. When you're in college, you will be doing you will do obviously coursework. And that will be made up of lots of different ways of submitting work that you do. It might be practical things that you've got to do quite a few times in order to gain the experience and build up your skills. It might be that you have to do some written work, and that could come in the form of an essay or a report, or it could just be that you've got to present something. Some assessments are done in a closed book environment, which means it's done like an exam style. So there's various different types of assessment. However, they're all done, you're explained all these within your course and within each of your subject areas. You'll get lots of information about that. So you don't need to think about that at this stage, but you will get lots of help and support about what you're doing in there. You will also be in classes with lots of different people from different backgrounds, different age groups. So yeah, there's a very large mixture of people in different in your classes, and we do try and mix those up, so it makes it a bit more it just makes things a bit better for everyone, because lots of people can support each other at different levels, not just the staff and the student advice and support team, but the peer support is really useful, and it's a really good tool to tap into when you're in college.
So I was a student before the pandemic. The pandemic sort of hit when I was finishing off the first year of my HND, And so I'm going to touch very briefly on my time as a student, just to sort of emphasize Michelle's point. You will meet students from all walks of life. You'll meet students of a similar age to you, perhaps younger than you, and perhaps older than you, and even in some instances a lot older. You'll meet students who are extremely diverse in their experiences, and coming from a social sciences background, and indeed any area of the college, they'll have completely different contributions to make. The one sort of defining aspect of coming to the college, because of course it sort of is a bridge between school and university, but it is very much its own institution. The defining aspect of coming to the college that was different from school, this may sound quite negative towards our school colleagues, but the college does their level best to treat you like an adult, and it's very different, you know, regardless of your age. And I found that was very helpful, actually, in specifically in discussions with social sciences lecturers. They, you know, did their level best to, if you did contribute in a class, to not be patronising. But that's the sort of main bit that I wanted to focus on.
Thanks, Sasha. That was really helpful. The next question actually kind of follows on from that one. And it's asking about what the transition between school and college is like. Now, college works really hard to make sure that that step from school to college is something that's managed really well. You should have a lot of information about the college before you even step through our doors as a full-time student. You'll find that once you apply, once a month, you will get a newsletter from us which tells you about things that have been going on in the college, so you're getting kind of a taste of student life, information about the course you've applied for, but also general information about things like when funding applications open, when we're having open days so that you can come in and see the facilities and speak to the teams who will be teaching you. And that helps you to kind of get up to speed with what college life is like before you are an actual student. But obviously there are many things that we tackle when you are a student, and the panel are going to talk you through that. Michelle, I'll come to you first, please, talking about inductions and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so once you've decided, what subject area you want to study in, and the good thing about that is you can be very specific about that. So if it's something that you're really interested in and passionate about, then you can kind of focus on that area. There will be, as part of your course, there might be some other subjects within it that are not necessarily specific, like, so for example, if you're doing hair and beauty, you may want to be a hairdresser, but you will still have a little bit of numeracy and a little bit of communication, because that's all building your skills and building your knowledge towards that. But predominantly it will be about hairdressing on your course. So once you've decided which course you're interested in and you've applied for it, you will have the opportunity to come along and come for an interview. It might be a virtual interview at this stage, depending on which course you're applying for. It might be that you come along and do a little skills test on some of the practical areas for part of your course. Once you've either got a conditional offer or a full offer, you will then, as Lauren says, you will get lots of information about your course going through that period up until the start of the course. When it comes to the start of the course in August, you will be invited in for induction, and during that induction time, you'll be shown round. If you're given kit as part of your course, so for example, again in hairdressing, you'll be given a uniform, you will have a kit for undertaking hairdressing. If it's engineering, you'll maybe have PPE to get. So all these types of things will be issued to you. You'll be introduced to your lecturers and you'll meet the rest of your classmates. And then you will be given lots of information about how to start settling into your course in college. We don't just throw you in at the deep end and expect you to just come in your first day and you're going to be a student ready to go. If it's new and you're coming from school, there will be a bit of a transition, and we try to make that as easy as possible. And all the information that you get sent throughout the summer with regard to the induction will help you do that. So it'll give you some information about online tools that might be useful. So you might think you get something and you think, well, that doesn't really apply to me. It's always worthwhile reading the information to make sure that you understand, and ask questions. You know, if you come to your induction and you're not sure about something, write it down and ask a question when you come to your induction, or drop one of us an email and ask any questions that you're not sure about.
Thanks, Michelle. Obviously, alongside academic support, inductions and things like that, our student advice and support team are there to help with that transition period. So Kasia, I'm going to ask you to come in and talk a little bit about how your team will work with applicants to make sure that transition from school to college is a smooth one.
So our team provides overall support. We work not just term time, we work all year round. So we are here to answer any questions regarding support. We will also, as Michelle mentioned, and Lauren mentioned, you will receive correspondence inviting you to reading newsletters and things like that. Within that, if any students declared additional learning support needs or that they're care experienced or young carers, we would send also an email asking you to book an appointment with us to discuss any additional support before you begin the studies. But anyone who didn't disclose any learning support needs but would like to find some more information about the support, about study skills, about additional support, maybe with IT skills, can book an appointment with us. So there is appointment available to book on the college website, and you can find that there is a booking link there, and we can discuss any and answer any questions you have regarding your studies. Throughout the summer, we will be offering Ready Steady Study sessions. So it's like between 1 hour to 2 hour sessions to go over fears and maybe discuss some IT that you will be using, some systems that you will be using as a student. So things like Blackboard and like Microsoft Office, and any kind of study tips we have for you. If you would like to take part in Ready Steady Study, feel free to book to email us studentsupport@nescol.ac.uk. We also offer campus tours, and we will be offering that throughout the summer. So if you would like to see the campus, if you're a city, then we will be, if you will be studying at Aberdeen City campus, we will be offering that during the summertime. For Altons and for Fraserburgh, we will be offering that in June at some point.
Perfect, thank you, Kasia. I guess, Sasha, you're probably a good person to answer this question as well, because you've been in that process of transitioning from school to college. How did you find that?
So, let's see if I can remember quite far back. It was a wee bit daunting. You know, I mean, I went to City Campus, which is of course a huge campus. It's much bigger than, well, I don't actually know in terms of the volume, but it seems like it would be a bigger campus, but I don't know, it could be corrected anyway. It seems like a maze internally. I don't know whether it's helped or hindered by the one-way system actually that we've got in place, but it was a wee bit different when I first came here because there was no one-way system. But I suppose the first thing you've got to grapple with is the room numbering system. And once you've got hold of that, you'll be perfectly fine. It's just sort of figuring out where you go. And reception is always very willing to lend a hand. In terms of sort of getting to grips with the college and so on, and gelling with your class, usually people are very, very willing to talk to you. On personal experience, groups do tend to form quite soon in classes, but I mean, it entirely depends on your group. You know, you can't predict it. but usually groups are very, very chatty and very, very willing to lend a hand. And that's, of course, coupled with the fact that quite a few courses have inbuilt sort of group work within it to sort of force you to talk to each other. That sounds like it's a negative, but forces you to talk to each other anyway, to help. Anyway.
Thanks, Sasha. I think it's worth pointing out for anyone who's nervous about that room numbering system in the maze-like campuses, part of your induction does include being given a map and an explanation of how our room numbering works. So if you are worried about finding your way around in a big building like City Campus or Fraserburgh Campus or Altons, there are facilities and provisions to make sure that you don't get lost on your first day while you make your way around the campus for the first few weeks of your course. The next question actually is, what are the facilities like at college? Now, this is a very, very broad question, and I'm going to challenge Michelle to answer this. She probably could talk at you about it for a very long time, but Michelle, could you please have a go at answering that question?
Okay, so we've got quite a number of different facilities in the college, in all 3 campuses. So depending on where you're going to be studying or where your base of study will be, will depend on what sort of facilities you'll be learning in. So we have lots of purpose-built facilities, and most of the ones that are practical are industry standard. So for example, our hair and beauty salons and our studios, we've got a drama theatre, we've got lots of different facilities, sports facilities on campus, fitness suites, and then like at Altons we've got engineering, they've got bricklaying facilities, and they've got those at Fraserburgh as well, automotive, whatever they're called, beds that they drive into, I don't know what they're called, I'm not that technical, but they've got all these different things. We've got TV studios, we've got large lecture theatres, we've got some smaller ones, we've got kitchens, professional kitchens, there's science labs, so lots and lots of things. Everything that we're teaching, we have got the facilities there to teach with, and if we don't, it might be that you do go out to a sort of external environment. Within City Campus, we also utilise Aberdeen Sports Village as part of our sports facilities, so we do our bigger sort of facilities down there. So the facilities, as we've said, are pretty much state of the art. Anything that is sort of, we're always updating the facilities in the college, so anything that needs updating, we do that as a normal. And we do have normal classrooms as well, so we have classrooms that are smaller in size. So we've got classrooms that maybe the capacity is a bit smaller, maybe up to about 15 to 20, depending on what sort of groups they're delivering in there. And we've also got much larger size groups of about 30 to 40 in there. We've got computing labs. A lot of our courses are bring your own device, or BYOD. You might have seen that in your application process, which means that you can take your own device to college to use in a classroom. So if you prefer to type things up rather than write, then maybe you had support at school where you actually used a laptop to do some work, then that's the kind of thing that you can still continue to do at college. You can use your own device, you don't have to take a device from the college, it's assessed as part of your bursary. We do suggest across the board pretty much, unless you're doing some sort of graphic type course, that you use a Windows-based device. So an iPad or a Chromebook is not the greatest device, but that doesn't mean you've got to go run out and get a new device. And we will talk you through that through the interview process and through induction as well, so that you've got the correct device for you. When you're studying as well, you'll have access to facilities. So if you need to access the library, we've got quite a large library at City Campus. We've got a smaller library at Altons, and we've got quite a large library at Fraserburgh Campus. And they also have computers in there for you to use as well. So they've got quiet areas where you can study. They've got also group study areas that you can use. The library staff are now pushing for people to use this rather than be a quiet place. They want it to be busy, so it's one of these places that you can go to study together if you're doing stuff that you want to get sort of get ready for an assessment, for example, that you can do that. We've got refectories all over the college in the different college environments in Fraserburgh, at City and at Altons. So the refectories are there for you to eat, obviously depending where you are located. There's lots of things outside as well, but the refectories are very good, especially on days that are a bit rainy, you don't want to go outside or you want to continue to study. We have IT help desks that help you with any IT issues that you may have. They might not be able to specifically help you with a software issue if it's, you know, say for example, you're using a piece of software that's a programming software, they might not be able to help with that. But if it's something general with your device, they'll be able to help you with that or find out how they can do that. So there's lots of facilities there, lots of stuff to tap into. And again, what I would sort of just reiterate to you is to ask if you don't know the answer to the question yourself, if you don't know where to go, if you don't know who to speak about to it, if you're stuck with something, ask somebody. Go into the library, they're open till late at night. You can go into the library there and ask a question, someone will direct you to the right source there.
Thanks, Michelle. And I think just worth reiterating, if you want to see any of these facilities firsthand, our campuses are open for our first open day in 2 years this Saturday from 10 AM until 2 PM. That includes City Campus, Altons Campus, Fraserburgh Campus and the Scottish Maritime Academy in Peterhead. If you want to book a place to visit one of those campuses on Saturday, you do it at the same website where you will have registered for this. So that's nescol.ac.uk/open days. And you'll get a chance to see those facilities firsthand, tour the campuses and really get a feel for how amazing the facilities are. The next question is, what is the social life like at NESCol? And Sasha, as our only student here, I think I'm going to come to you to answer that one.
So, I mean, I think people are sort of well aware that our social lives have been sort of turned upside down by COVID, although I would argue that I didn't really have much of one before COVID, but anyway. So essentially, I mean, your classes at NESCol provide excellent opportunities to meet like-minded people. As I said, you know, if you're doing social sciences, you'll meet people who, you know, obviously signed up to do social sciences, and, you know, they may agree or disagree on which of the social sciences is the best. If a phantom Wendy Third is watching, it is obviously sociology, before I get glares again. But yes, so I mean, it's excellent to meet people that are like-minded on your course, but also there are excellent social spaces on campus that I think Michelle's alluded to, just to sort of relax, but also you know, talk with people and so on. And then there's usually a selection of student-run clubs and societies every year. They go up and down, but they're generally on campus every year. And you may even think of starting one if you've got one that you would like to create that doesn't exist at the moment. Those are sort of under the umbrella of the Students' Association, which sort of gives me a tie-in. So the Students' Association is essentially the student representative body at the college. It exists to represent the student voice, but it also can provide sort of social opportunities through events and other activities such as volunteering if you would like to get involved. And that's it really, I think. So I'm struggling to read my own handwriting.
Thanks, Sasha. I think you gave a pretty good overview anyway. The next question is more around student support. So I think there's probably an avenue for each of you to speak on this. But I'll go to Kasia first, then Stephen, and then Sasha and Michelle, and you can cover your own areas individually. But what kind of student support is available at NESCol?
So there is various support when you apply for college. Student advice will process your application, and it will help. They will help with kind of moving on your application through different stages. Within the Student Advice Center, you can also apply for your funding and financial support. If you are non-advanced students, you will be applying for bursary. You can also apply for additional funding if you have rent responsibilities. So you can apply for discretionary and also childcare funding. You would need to apply to SAS directly if you are going to study at higher national certificate or higher national diploma level, but you can again apply to college for additional funding like childcare and discretionary. But that's not part of what our team does. There will be additional session specifically on funding later on this week. Our team provide support on various various support, and we identified and we provide extensive mental health and well-being support to students. So students who are feeling anxious, who's got any mental health difficulties, illness, and would like some support from us. We do have our own mental health well-being advisors. We do offer, you can speak to us, to student support tutor or mental, the well-being advisors if anyone would like to be signposted or would like to receive counseling support. We also have our own mental health and well-being toolkit. So there is a lot of support that can be provided around the mental health and well-being, and we try to support and kind of any students when it comes to kind of provide being supportive in any way. And Stephen will tell you more about kind of what other support we provide.
Yep, thanks, Kasia. So each of the campuses have got a dedicated team of student support tutors, and we're normally based in the Student Advice Centre. And it's our job to help support you throughout your time at NESCol. We'll work closely with the teaching staff, and you'll probably see us at different stages throughout the year. So it could be one-to-one, small groups, or you might see us in the class sometimes as well. Just to give you an idea of the type of things that we can help with, we can do a support needs assessment with students. And basically what that is, it's a conversation with one of the student support tutors and the student to discuss any learning support needs that you may have. So it could be medical, it could be academic. This will allow the student advice support team consider the most appropriate methods to help remove those barriers for you. So the relevant information will be shared with the teaching staff along with the recommendations from the student advice support team on how to basically support you through your course. We'll also help with alternative assessment arrangements, AAAs for short. This allows students who have been identified as having additional support needs possibly get measures within an assessment. So for example, it could be extra time, it could be the use of a laptop and possibly separate accommodation and things like that. Now I say possibly because evidence needs to be gathered to demonstrate and to justify the need for the alternative assessment arrangements. So it's important to point out that even if you had this in place at school, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be needed at college. So if you think that it applies to you, you'll need to make an appointment with the student advice and support team. We'll also help with the study skills. So that's quite a wide range of topics within the student support team. So it really just depends on the area that you feel as though you need support with. So for example, it could be time management, it could be note taking, it could be the use of assistive technologies, which is quite a popular service, and things like that. For employability skills, so that's quite self-explanatory. So we'll offer support with job searching, CVs and cover letters. We'll also help with application forms, mock interviews, LinkedIn and professional platforms. For money management, we're happy to support you with, again, a wide range of advice such as council tax, discounts, ways to stretch your budget, and we can also refer you on to external agencies who specialise in money management. So, for example, support on budgeting, benefits and debt and things like that. We'll also support with UCAS, university applications. So we can help you go through a step-by-step guide or the application form, help you complete each section, including the personal statement, and help you support your application to make sure that you get it handed in for the deadline. We've also got support on offer for students that identify as care experienced or student of young carers, and also estranged students. Each of these services, there's a booking system available, so you can book and meet with us online, or you can meet with us in person on campus within the Student Advice Centre. So once you've enrolled on your course, you get access to a booking system that you can pretty much book in at a day and time when anybody's available, when one of the student support tutors is available. We've also got a virtual and in-person drop-in service where you can come along and discuss possibly your academic concerns and get helps and tips that way if you don't want to use the standard booking system. And we've also got a virtual cafe. So that's slightly different. It's a bit more informal to the usual services that we offer. And you can do quizzes, games, and there's also sessions offered by the library and the Student Association. So I'll pass on to Sasha, who'll be able to tell you a bit more about that.
Great. So just touching on the virtual cafe and the Students Association involvement very briefly before I move on to sort of peer-to-peer support. We've sort of hijacked the virtual cafe every now and again to sort of have an open session for students to come and talk to us, to sort of maybe learn more about the Students Association, or if they've got any queries or anything that they'd like us to raise with the college. In terms of sort of peer-to-peer support, what the Students Association can do through our structures via our class reps and so on. So at a group level, at a class level, you'll have class reps that can work with your lecturers on your behalf to support you if there's an issue with timetabling for the entire group or whatever. I'm sure there won't be, but if something does come up, and then the class rep will then bring that to the Students Association, and if there's an issue with things broader than just that one group, then that's something that we can bring up to the college. Another thing is we operate on all campuses, so we've got offices. Well, we've got offices on all three main campuses: Aberdeen City, Aberdeen Altons, and Fraserburgh. And if you want to talk to us in person, you can. And being students, I'm realizing my phone's going off every time that someone comments in the team thing, so 2 seconds. Anyway, but so we can essentially be there to empathize with you. That makes it sound like SAST can't, but I assure you that's not the case. So essentially, because we have either been very recently or will be, or indeed some of us, not me, are students, then we can relate to you, and it allows us to not only sort of signpost within the college and say this is where you should go, we can also signpost to external organizations. So if it's something that we really think the student advice and support team can deal with, then we'll put you to them, or indeed we also have a sort of bank, I think, of external organizations that we can post you to. Thank you.
Thanks, Sasha. I think Michelle was going to come in and talk a little bit about academic tutoring, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you, Michelle.
No, that's fine. Yes, so academic tutors, as part of your induction, you will be allocated an academic tutor as part of your course. and they are pretty much your first point of contact. They'll usually be one of your lecturers, so they will be the person who you will be able to kind of go to if you've got any questions, if you've got any challenges going on and you don't know where to go. So, you know, maybe you don't want to just go down into the student advice and support team, make an appointment down there, or you're not sure what to do, or you're not sure about the online system for booking, and your academic tutor will be able to direct you for that. They will also follow up with you on attendance issues. So if you, for example, that you start missing classes, or if they see that you're not submitting assessments, then the other lecturers can sort of speak to them, and they can then sit down with you and sort of have a chat with you, look at a plan, to put a plan in place. So they're there as your first point of contact. I guess as a pastoral sort of role, but also they're academic, so they know the course that you're undertaking as well. They're generally someone that's actually teaching on your course, so they know about your course and can kind of give you a bit more support in the first instance. And then if there is more support required, they will direct you with that to the right person through student advice and support team.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm going to come back to you just now because I just realised I've missed a question, and you did already kind of cover this, but it might be worth answering it again. And what are the assessments like at college?
Okay, so I did touch on it a little bit at the beginning, but there's quite a lot of information for assessments. A lot of it will depend on the course that you're doing. It'll depend on the awarding body that's delivering your course. So, for example, we do courses through SQA, but we also do courses through sitting guilds, through NCFE. And there will be other courses that I'm not sure which awarding bodies they'll use through engineering and stuff, etc. as well. So, for example, through City and Guilds, there's lots of things that you've got to be able to do at a certain level. So if it's practical, you have to be able to undertake a task at a certain level. So you do a lot of practice before you're assessed at a level. And that might be a practical assessment that you undertake, and it's an observation that's undertaken in there. If you're doing something that's a bit more theory-based, it might be that it's a written assessment. It might be that it's an online assessment using a software, so it might be through Solar. It might be that you've got to do a report. Some of the bigger types of assessment that you might have to do are things called graded units. So if you're doing an HN, you'll do a graded unit. Now, some of those are project-based, so the project lasts throughout the whole year. So you've got 3 different elements that you're assessed on throughout the year. Or you might have an exam. So some of these assessments are still exam-based. But whatever assessment type that you're doing, if you attend your classes, if you do the work that's set for you, that will put you in a very, very good position to be prepared for any of the assessments that are undertaken. Staff won't put you down staff won't just say to the class, oh, you're doing an assessment tomorrow. They will give you notice. They will always give you at least a week's notice to prepare for that assessment. They will give you guidance. We use our system through our so you know, obviously you've got face-to-face teaching, but there's also using Teams, but also using our virtual learning environment, which is using Blackboard, where you will have lots and lots of resources available to you on there, whether it's a PowerPoint, whether it's a video clip, whether it's some tasks that you have to undertake and then submit in preparation for the assessments. There's lots and lots of resources there that will set you up in preparation for your assessments. So the only thing, the biggest piece of advice I would give you is treat college a bit like a job. Turn up and attend for your classes, because that sets you in the right path to go down to be a successful student. And if you can't manage to come to class, let your lecturers know, or let your academic tutors know that if there's a reason you can't be there, because if you just disappear, then they need to follow that up with you. So that's the most important piece of advice I'd give you.
Thanks, Michelle. I think that's one thing as well that is important when you consider the difference between college and school, is that many of our courses are continuously assessed, which means that you'll do kind of smaller assessments and coursework submissions and practical things throughout the year, rather than just having that one exam or one coursework submission to determine your overall grade in a subject. So if you are at school currently and you don't cope well with the pressure of an exam situation, and applying to a course at college where that continuous assessment is in place can really help you succeed in your chosen subject area. The last pre-submitted question that we'll answer is around obviously the picture of COVID. What will classes look like next year? Will there still be online learning, or will it be back to classes on campus? So at the moment, things are already starting to open up, and we're waiting for further guidance from the government in terms of what the end of this academic year will look like. But for next academic year, so any courses starting in August 2022, we are planning for a year free of restrictions. So we're hopeful that everyone will be back on campus using those facilities and learning in a classroom environment, face-to-face with their teachers. However, we're going to be maintaining the positive elements of kind of virtual communication delivery, including things like our student support services and virtual events. So you're going to get the best of both worlds going forward, assuming all goes according to plan. Now, there are a few questions that have appeared in the Q&A panel. If you do have a question, please submit it. We are scheduled to be here till 5 o'clock, but if we run out of questions, we probably end it a little bit early, so make sure you get your questions in soon. The first question Stephen's already covered a little bit, but Kasia, I'm going to come to you to answer this one. I'm keen to go to university after college, and I wonder if there is any help or support with applications.
So we provide, as Stephen mentioned, we provide help with UCAS application. Anyone who's applying to college does need to apply through UCAS, but as you know, when you're applying to university, you would need to apply through UCAS. We provide, we have a week in November. It was last year in November, where we provided an overview, various sessions from step-by-step application process to how to write a personal statement, to information on SAS application, and all kind of transitioning sessions. So that would help you and enable anyone to progress from college to university. There is also, we work closely with RGU and University of Aberdeen, so we organize drop-in sessions for those universities. So you will see representatives from RGU and University of Aberdeen across all the campuses while you're studying, to help students to progress and move on. We can also, if there is the demand, we can also invite those representatives to classroom sessions, and they will provide information on things like the associate student schemes. So if any student of at HN level would like to use the facilities at university, so their libraries, for example, they can register and use that through the associate program. So there is various help and support available. We can provide, again, in addition to classroom sessions, we can provide one-to-one appointments for students if they want, if they've got any specific questions, if they would like some feedback on their personal statement. So you're not there alone. We will help you throughout your college journey. And as you probably know, and you've done your research, you can, after completing 2 years at college, we have the degree articulation route. So most students with their degree, as long as they meet their conditions, they can move to the 3rd year of university. But the progression through college can start at level 4. So from level 4, level 5, level 6, students can then progress to HND and progress to university. So it's not like at school where you need to have your hires and then you can go to university. You can progress and start at the very low level 4 and progress, and college will help you throughout your journey. So I hope that answered the question.
Thanks, Kasia. If you are particularly interested in finding out about progression from college to university, there is another session tomorrow at 4 p.m. Again, register at the same link it's been published in the announcements area, which is about progression from university, and that will cover progression within college, onto university, or into a job or a modern apprenticeship. So definitely worthwhile attending if you want to find out more about that. One last question, and if you do have a question, please submit it now so we don't go away without answering it. Kasia, this is probably another one for you. Are there extra support available for overseas students, including childcare? Maybe it's an answer in two parts.
So there is, our team doesn't actually deal with funding as such, but part of the Student Advice Center, there is student funding. So overseas students, as long as they meet the residency criteria, they can apply for additional funding. But again, any students who will have conditional offer will be able to apply for funding either to college or to university. And after that, you can contact student funding at nescol.ac.uk to inquire whether you are also eligible for childcare. There are certain criteria, and student funding will advise you accordingly what is applicable. So there is additional funding there.
Thanks, Kasia. And is there any additional support for people who need childcare for their students? I think that was the second part of the question. Maybe Stephen could come in on that one.
Sorry, Lauren, that was a bit of a dip in the volume. Can you repeat that for me,
Yeah,
please?
sorry, it's asking about whether there's support for students who require childcare.
Yep, that's the information for the childcare comes from a different team from myself. That comes from the student information and the student information advice team. So the need to within when the childcare applications become available, and that will get sent to them, and then they just kind of take it from there. So that, unfortunately, it doesn't come from the student support tutors.
Maybe, can I just add one more thing?
Yeah, please.
So, although there is no kind of childcare, there is childcare facilities at Fraserburgh campus. There is nursery there, and so you would need to inquire within the Student Advice Centre. Unfortunately, Aberdeen City and Oltons doesn't have the childcare facilities. However, it's the contribution, you can get contribution towards the nursery place or out of school facilities. But again, inquire about that. We cannot provide kind of support in finding out the information, but you can inquire, you can find that on the government website, and also student funding will have information of where to find. If you're looking for childminder, if you're looking for the nursery, then inquire and ask student funding what is the best kind of facilities. You need to have registered childcare to be able to claim funding from college towards that. So maybe that helped.
Thank you. And similarly to progression, there is a session on Wednesday at 4 p.m, which is specifically about student funding. So if you do have a question about funding, about childcare funding or additional benefits, that is going to be the best opportunity to get in touch with our funding team, as unfortunately there's nobody here today. You can also email studentfunding@nescol.ac.uk. I'll pop that out as an announcement, so you don't need to take a note of it right now. And my team will be more than happy to help with any questions that you have. I think that's all for the questions just now. Thank you very much to all of the panelists, and thank you very much for attending. Really appreciate it, and we hope we will see some of you in person on Saturday at one of our campuses. If you think of a question once the session is finished, you can get in touch by the email addresses which will go out in the announcements at the end. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a nice day.